We are recording and sharing. Nope, I don't want to screen share. Man, and last time I was so fancy about knowing what the heck I was doing.
I think I see it under more.
Yes. You know what? I think I need to be the full host and then I'll make you host again.
Okay, that works.
Sorry to strip you of all that power, Felix. There we go. Nope, still not happy. Let me see. Okay. Here we are. Okay. There we go. On your page. Yep. All right. Hawkins, you need to get water or anything? Your vocal cord's gonna.
I'm good. I got what I need.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right. All right, guys. We are here for the young adult version of the Duchenne Life this evening. Ryan and DJ can't be with us, so we took the opportunity to invite some new blood in and get their thoughts and ideas about their experiences with Duchenne. We've got Felix Wu, who is 24 years old, and David Gonzalez, who is 26, and we've got Hawken Miller, who is 25. So I'm gonna skedaddle and let these guys chat because they are way more interesting than I am. All right, guys, take it away.
All right. Welcome everyone to the Duchenne Life. Lindy has introduced us, and just so we add a little bit more background, we also talk about sort of what our current, what we're currently up to and sort of where we live. So I'll go first. Currently, I am doing a PhD program at Rice University, and I am in Houston, Texas. Maybe Hawk can go next.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Lindy, for having me. And I think you're a pretty interesting person too. So yes, as Felix said, I'm Hawken. I live in Newport Beach, California, and I am a full-time journalist for a company called BioNews, where I write feature stories about muscular dystrophy and also other rare diseases, including SMA and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and ALS and a bunch more. And I also am a Twitch streamer over on the Hawk Live on Twitch. And I also do freelance writing for the Washington Post on their gaming section. And I actually was just saying I came off of hosting one of their streams as well.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely share your handle so we can put in the live chat.
Yeah, it's the Hawk Live, all lowercase.
All right, David, go ahead.
All right. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I want to say thank you guys so much for having me on this. So I am David Gonzalez. I'm from Houston, Texas, and right now I'm a part of the philosophy master's program at the University of St. Thomas. Yeah, and I have about one more year to go, and yeah, I mean I plan on hopefully becoming a professor or a teacher in philosophy.
Felix,
Yeah.
sorry, one thing I wanted to add is I also do a lot of volunteer work with Cure Duchenne, which is a foundation that my parents started when I was diagnosed. And so, for example, recently We had a conference in Florida that I spoke at, so I also do that as well.
That's cool. Yeah, we're all doing a lot of interesting work for sure. And yeah, we're here to talk to you all about sort of our experiences. All right, so yeah, so now that we got the introductions out of the way, I think we can dive right into the topics. And I think we should first talk about sort of what does our medical care look like and how it kind of affects our school / work / social life. So we're going to consider this in terms of like a daily, weekly, and then like more annually kind of considerations, and also talking about attendance and caregivers. So Hawken, do you want to start us off, and then me and then David, and then I'll add any additional things.
Sure. I will preface this, as everyone knows on this call and who's watching, is Duchenne is different for everyone. And I think we can all relate to that. It all affects us differently. Every mutation is slightly different. So all I can do is speak to my experience, and I hope that it can provide some insight to other people. So I started, in terms of care, I recently hired 2 assistants to help me get ready in the morning and then help me cook dinner and do stretches of physical therapy at night. And throughout college, I didn't have that. I basically relied on roommates to help me out and physical therapy students to sign up to help me stretch. And so right now, that's kind of my care situation. I think the biggest part about how my health affects my daily life is just I feel like I get pretty tired easily. And so managing that with, working a full-time job and doing these side things like Twitch and streaming for the Washington Post, that it's a lot to handle. So it could be, overwhelming sometimes. So I think that's the biggest thing, is feeling tired during the day, despite having to do a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something we can all relate to. And yeah, just just a quick disclaimer: whatever we talk about is not medical advice. Still talk to your doctors about your specific situation, as Hawken mentioned. So just to keep that in mind as we talk about these things. All right, David, do you want to also answer this question as well?
Yeah. Yeah. My lungs are they're definitely weaker. And I tend to feel like I run out of breath easily, and like talking for long periods of time can be difficult. And I even have a very hard time whenever I have presentations to do in the master's program, or I feel after like 5 or 10 minutes, I just feel so tired. That, so it is beginning to interfere with my abilities, with my assignments that I have, and I'm learning to adapt to that. I'm learning to really try to pace myself whenever I speak. So, and I know I'll probably have to start using my BiPAP pretty soon during the day to help me with that, So I know that'll definitely make it more manageable once I get to that point, So, but of course, I'm trying to, and I mean, I would prefer not to have to wear it during the day. So I try as much as possible to get by without that, And yeah, like Hakan said, I do notice I get tired easily, and so is I feel like I always have to be pretty well rested.
Yeah, for sure.
I always have to have at least 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
yeah, and I know if I have like a long day like at school and stuff, then I definitely get tired by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm still able to manage to do well enough, There's not interfering that much to where it doesn't interfere too much to where I feel like I can't like perform well. But yeah, I think we all just find our ways to adapt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as we know, we have a lot of different things we need to do throughout the day to sort of just make sure um, our we're able to do well at what we're trying to do, and also not to be tired out. And I guess in my daily routine is sort of wearing my BiPAP at night, waking up, and using the cough assist device. I don't know if y'all had a similar kind of thing to get the mucus out, and then um, afterwards, yeah, I would eat my breakfast, and then afterwards I'll try to do some light exercises that I follow along on YouTube, basically, just doing what I can to maintain mobility. And I find like having this like sort of daily routine just makes it easier to get through the day with that. And then just trying to make a habit of a lot of things it can be difficult at the initial stages, but as you sort of get used to that, it gets a little bit better and more easier to follow. So that's kind of my daily routine. And I guess also now that like during COVID and stuff, I've been at home a lot of the time and not on campus. So I also try to make sure like weekly I at least have some outdoor time just so um, I get fresh air and stuff like that. So that's kind of my routine. I don't. It sounds like we have kind of similar things. As of now, I don't have any specific caregivers outside of my parents, but that's sort of my situation these days.
Yeah, I like that you bring up the routine. I think that's very important because it is a lot like, at night, there's some times where I don't want to have to wear my night splints and BiPAP and retainer. And I feel like I'm half cyborg at this point,
Yeah.
but it really does make a difference. And it makes the next day go so much smoother, right? How
Yeah.
you plan the night before really impacts that day. I will say for me, the cough assist, I don't really use it to clear mucus. I kind of use it more as a way to stretch like my lung muscles to get
Okay.
that hyperinflation. But that is super important to use that cough assist as well.
Yeah. For sure. David, did you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, I do use the houses as well. I feel like I'm easy to bring up like phlegm and mucus and stuff. But also, I sort of like use it. Even just to I feel like it really gives me an air, and it really expands my lungs,
Yeah, for sure. Mhm.
And I definitely feel like relief from that, and yeah, I think that I feel like I really yeah, I feel like lately I feel like just from me breathing, I feel like I don't let the full air,
Mhm.
that I could get, and so the house is really feel like it gives me the air that I need. Then it definitely helps, like for now at least. I know probably eventually that won't be enough.
Yeah. yeah, it's a struggle for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's something we all understand with Duchenne, but it's maybe not so clear cut for people who haven't experienced it yet. So yeah, those are some of the challenges. I guess one thing we didn't really cover is sort of like doing the doctor's appointments, when to make sure to check in with your doctor and stuff like that. And I think for me at least, what was really good about having like things like my chart, I don't know if you had similar experiences where you get to communicate with your doctor pretty conveniently. That's kind of when I have any issues. That's kind of how I communicate with the doctor, and also making sure I have the sort of biannual kind of checkups, so every 6 months, to make sure everything's okay. But let's mix it up. David, do you want to talk about that kind of thing real quick, actually?
Yeah, I find it super convenient that I can communicate with my doctor online, you know, and especially every time that I get sick and I start having a lot of like phlegm build up, that I just send a message to my pulmonary doctor, and I don't need to get hospitalized. So I'm not got hospitalized for pneumonia or anything related to that, like that at all, in like maybe 8 or 9 years. That sounds like every time I get sick, I mean, I've always been able to avoid going to the hospital because I just send the pulmonary doctor a message and they send the medicine to the pharmacy,
Yeah.
or the prescription, and they got all the antibiotics and medicines I need, and I handle, and then when we handle my health from home,
Yeah, for sure.
then and so that having that ability to communicate with the doctor whenever, that I definitely, I definitely take full advantage of that, and what else? And then I definitely then meet with my doctors. So the pulmonary every 6 months, and the other doctors like every year, so I believe. And so I definitely keep that up. I never miss an appointment, and lately during the pandemic, I'm having a lot of virtual appointments, to which I definitely I know these past few years I have not wanted to go to the hospital.
Understandable. Yeah.
Given the situation, and so I mean, I think the doctors are it's very accommodating nowadays. And yeah, I think I I will take full advantage of that, and yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I basically have the same thing to say. So I think technology makes it great to be able to communicate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, things are just always changing, and a lot of things are coming. So there's still a lot of things to be hopeful for as well in terms of technology.
Right.
Mhm.
And I guess since we're on the topic of COVID, we can kind of talk about this a little bit of how COVID sort of affected us for better or for worse. Maybe beyond sort of just the medical appointments and stuff, but like more of the social side of things. Hawken, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think COVID was definitely a challenge. Obviously, with our lower, lung capacity, we obviously we don't want to get COVID and risk, having long-term complications because of it. So yeah, we were very strict with the lockdown, like for really until the vaccine came out. And during that time, yeah, anytime that we saw someone, it would be outside, and we really mostly kept it to close family and friends. And so that limited my ability to see friends from high school and just whoever I wanted and be able to, get dinner with people and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
the way I overcame that was through video games, which
Mhm.
I love playing, and I think it's a great way to be able to play with friends as well, and to have that communication and that camaraderie through there. Also, during COVID, we started playing Dungeons and Dragons online, and that was a fun way to get my imagination going and just have something to talk about with friends and be able to video chat with them and at least see their faces was very helpful. So I would say it definitely, like everyone else, it made it harder to have that connection, and to see people in real life it's a lot better than than virtually. I've realized, but between during COVID and then outside of COVID when vaccine is available and stuff. So it was definitely hard, like it was for a lot of people, but I think I was able to overcome that through finding different ways of through video chatting to connect with them.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar type of experience as well. I actually was able to connect with a lot more friends that I haven't before, and because they're like all over the US now, kind of deal. So it's
Mhm.
I found that to be helpful. And also some things were like some like when people sort of have spontaneous sort of meetups, it's a lot easier to do to like jump on a Zoom, right? Rather than um go into a specific location and you have to figure out, is it accessible, those kinds of things. At least for me, that was sort of a silver lining to that kind of planning was a lot easier. Just hop on a link and everything was pretty much golden, but of course it doesn't replace in-person interactions for sure. Right. David, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, yeah, I started like not seeing people as much during the pandemic, and I and and so I started calling people more. You know, I'll never like someone to like call a person, over the phone. Like for me, I guess I get really nervous over the phone. And yeah, it always kind of felt weird to me to talk to someone over the phone, and so of course during the pandemic I had to adapt.
Mhm.
Then and or else like uh, or else I didn't want to get more distant socially with people, and so yeah, that was a good way to like to keep up with my friends, even though I wouldn't see them as often.
I think for us,
They,
oh, sorry.
yeah, yeah, and then so I started calling and testing people more, and I feel like I needed to do that, and now that I'm vaccinated, I am seeing people more now, so it's
That's all.
just that I had the vaccine now, but yeah, before the vaccine, I definitely needed to do that, and now now calling people more is something that I do now,
Yeah.
So it's good that I've learned to adapt in that way.
Mhm.
You know, yeah,
Yeah, we gotta adapt to the situations as they come, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of something we're used to. Hawking, were you about to say something a while ago?
I was gonna just echo what you were saying. It's kind of that saying that goes adapt or fail. And I think for us, it's either adapt to it or just do what we're doing and have no social life. And that's not healthy for anyone. So
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely important. All right, to sort of switch to another topic. So as we become, so we're we're the young adult generation essentially. So what did sort of independence mean to each of you? And sort of what was expected of you as a teen? Sort of were you expected to go to college, getting a job, and what were kind of your goals from that? And sort of your experiences with independent living. Whoever wants to start off.
yeah, I can start. I think when I was a teenager, it was always the plan, at least in my mind, to go to college and to do everything that everyone else in my class is doing, because I never, obviously I looked different. I was in a wheelchair, but
Yeah.
mentally speaking, I never view myself any differently than my able-bodied peers at all. And so answering your question about independence, I think me personally, I always wanted to eventually live on my own. And I did that when I had an internship in DC, but then I came home after that, and then COVID hit. And so I was with my parents, and they're great caregivers, but I felt personally I wanted to be able to have my own place and kind of be in charge of everything more in a prideful way, kind of. But at the same time, I felt it was important to, I don't know, I just wanted to prove to myself in a way like it is possible to live independently, and you can do it. And it's a lot of work. So I understand for some people it might not be doable, of course, but I really like the idea of doing that. It makes me feel like I at least have some sense of control over this condition, where there are a lot of parts of it I don't. And at least I
for sure.
can control,
It's
having my
important.
own apartment and a roommate and just all these things that I guess a lot of people take for granted, but I
Yeah.
felt was really important for me to have.
Yeah, it's awesome that you're able to do that. That's not something I've been able to do, but yeah, so there's definitely a lot of challenges associated with that. And I guess for me, sort of independence was thinking about being able to reach my goals, and trying to make sure I maintain my health as to the best of my ability, and trying to make just trying to be able to do what I want, which at this point my goal is to try to become a professor, like David said as well. And that's just so my goal is to do that. So I think independence is kind of a broad term that can refer to many different things, and having that control over your condition is helpful in ways, but in other ways it's not as controllable. So yeah, those are just thoughts I had about independence as well. David, did you have any additional thoughts, sir?
Yeah. For me, I never really saw living independently on my own as very important. It never was a priority for me. And, I always seen it as long as I'm able to build a life for myself, and that I try to make the best decisions that I can with my life, and and I do take my family's advice well into consideration. I think it's really important to get the input,
Yeah.
and so my family is a big part of my decision making. And so I feel a part of that, or yeah, and I always saw, school as an important part of me becoming of me achieving my independence.
Yeah.
And I saw that as very important. Just to become a more educated person,
Yeah, for sure.
and so I hold my education very highly.
All right. Yeah, it's definitely important to have those goals for sure. And that's something that I feel like is a major driving force for me. And yeah, so setting goals I think is an important thing, whether or not that's short term or long term. But I think also like keeping in mind that sometimes situations change and goals are kind of different as time goes. For me, I guess I was sort of like I wanted it. I was thinking that I would go to college and stuff like that. But it's always been like sometimes I'm not so sure about what's gonna happen, and sometimes it feels like we're walking a path with the blindfold on, and we really don't know what's gonna happen. All right, so I guess let's shifting gears a little bit, but maybe let's talk about sort of challenges you face in school and work. A lot of things that I've kind of studied in my research is also relate to sort of discrimination. So I don't know if you ever felt any discrimination when sort of applying for jobs or applying for schools even, and anything like that.
I guess I can go first. I don't think, again, I don't know what people are thinking, but I feel like I was never discriminated against,
Hmm.
at least, through school. And I think I had the privilege and blessing of being able to go to a private school that, even before college, that they understood my situation early on, and
Hmm.
they were able to like kind of customize my schooling with that and work with me on it. Um, I think discrimination, it's more of a, when you talk about discrimination, it's not direct, it's more indirect. It's
Yeah, for sure.
things like, okay, this building that I need to go to for this class, it's in the physical education building. So it makes sense why it isn't accessible, but there's still classrooms in there. And
Right.
I had to go all the way around to the back and take this lift up. But then it turns out the building's so old, the first floor doesn't line up. So then I just can't even. And then by the time I figured that out, everyone else was done with the lab that we needed to do in that classroom. And I'm like, okay, so now what do I do? So it's things like that I feel like is more indirect discrimination, but I thankfully haven't faced any.
Yeah, it's definitely at least from the understanding of in my work is that discrimination, well, not exactly my work, but my field's work is that a lot of discrimination is no longer like I'm gonna be discriminating against you because you're in a wheelchair, like that direct, but yeah, like Hawkins said, very indirect things, and also sometimes like microaggressions and things like that. Sometimes it's hard to say, is it because of your disability or not, but yeah, it's sort of a murky area in terms of what is and what isn't discrimination. David, you want to also talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I never really faced discrimination before. I don't think I have. But then I've never applied for a job myself. So maybe it might be different in the workforce. I've had to apply for school, but I mean, I made it in the school that I wanted to attend.
Yeah.
So I really don't know.
Well,
You know,
go ahead, David.
yeah. I really don't know how much discrimination there is in the workforce.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that because I have had a bit of experience in the workforce, and I also think I've been very fortunate to be in workplaces that are very accommodating. So I had a few internships, and so the first one I had was I had it in high school, but I don't really count like the high school internships. Those are like pretty easy ones, or not easy, but like not as like job esque. Yeah, it's not as formal. Yeah, exactly. So I went. My first internship in college is at the Sacramento Bee. So I actually moved up to Sacramento for a summer, and I seem to be treated very well and everything. I will add, whenever I applied to a job or internship, they have a section where you can indicate if you have a disability or not. I always decline to answer that, because why introduce something that might reduce your chance of getting a job by disclosing that?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's very important, and I feel like they shouldn't really even be asking that question, to be honest, because that shouldn't be a reason for you not to hire them. But I digress. So my first internship at the Washington Post internship was right after I graduated. So that was a bit more formal. And one thing I asked for was, the bathrooms. It was, I at that point I could, get off the toilet on my own, but I couldn't do it unless there was a riser on the toilet. So I had to like talk to HR, and they were great about, putting it, in that bathroom until other people went in and took it off. But generally, things like that, they're very understanding about. And my full-time job now, technically, I guess my first full-time job, that is an internship at BioNews. They've been very gracious and flexible with my timing, and understand that, sometimes I need to take time to rest during the day, and that I think as long as they know that I'm doing the work and that I'm getting my articles in when they ask, and that it's good, and they don't really care as much what you're doing in between that, as long as you produce that finished product. And so they've been very flexible with me in terms of that.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, that's really great that they're accommodating of all of that. So that's definitely something that's hopefully that works out for everyone as well, because sometimes it's a difficult situation sometimes. And actually, just to circle back, I did say something like microaggressions. Basically, that's referring to anything that is indirectly referring to you having a disability and sort of a discriminatory comment. Whatever that looks like. I can't think of an example at this moment, but maybe one thing is like age, for example. Like a lot of us get comments about how we look sort of younger than we actually are, and sometimes that can be challenging to deal with at times. So yeah, just to circle back on that. And yeah, I also had a few experiences with applying for jobs as well. Same as you, Hawk, and I usually leave it out. Although there is research saying that you shouldn't, and you should try to disclose as early as possible, but I kind of fight back against that because that's what research is always an average. So it's never necessarily what's practically useful. And so I think that kind of research comes from the perspective of people who don't have disabilities. So that's kind of a, so when people give you advice about things, think about those types of things. It's not like research says that's the end all be all, and that's coming from me as a researcher. So just keep that in mind when moving forward. And yeah, so when I usually when I've experienced discrimination was at the interview stage, because at the application stage I'm like fine, right? I have all the right qualifications and stuff, but things kind of break down when they see you have a disability, and that's a challenging thing. But for those places that had hired me, whether it's an internship, also getting into grad school, ask similar to Hawken, like if I asked when I asked about accommodations, they've been pretty good about that. And also sometimes it's helpful to sort of think of also like how to compromise, kind of just think of like what from the company's perspective or the school's perspective, what that looks like, and thinking about what is the sort of the easiest way to implement your accommodations. It takes thought, but usually people are more amenable to that when you can sort of ease that a little bit. And I know that's like a burden that falls on us, and they should try to think about that, but sometimes that that helps. And also fostering relationships with people is very effective as well, I think. Making sure you work well with the people around you, and also administration as well, and trying to think about those things. All right. So anything else y'all want to talk about in terms of jobs or anything like that? Discrimination, potentially.
I think the only thing I'll add is I also understand that people aren't used to dealing with people with disabilities. So
Yeah.
I do try to give people a little bit of grace in that particularly. And I think my perspective is people are going to microaggress me all the time. I just view it as my perspective is I don't try to get caught up in it because it doesn't lead to the positive thing, mentally for me. But I understand how it could, be frustrating for other people.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, Hawken. Like all these different things are going to happen, and don't let it haunt you too much, because it's hard to move forward with all the
Right.
baggage. David, did you have anything else to add, or should we move to the next topic?
I feel like I feel like there's a place where I really feel like there's this discrimination. And discrimination. I feel that way a little bit. In terms of my social interactions. I don't know if we're gonna talk about that soon, but I feel like a lot of times a lot of times people I feel like people, if people see the chair, but they don't see the person that I am, and whereas I feel like I feel like people have a certain view of me from by the fact that I'm in a wheelchair, and I feel like and I feel like it's been hard to make friends, or for people, or just for people to take me seriously, like maybe at a restaurant, and a waiter, a waiter, and might not take my order, as someone else, or what I want, and and yeah, I feel like and maybe not so much the discrimination, but just but just people failing to to treat me as well, you treating me
Yeah.
differently, and yeah, so I feel like socially, I do get that,
Yeah.
but I feel like people, it's weird. It's almost like people, people see that. Like sometimes I feel like, someone might see me as a person, but just won't interact, won't treat me the same way as they would treat someone else. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's very. I feel like sometimes it's like, I don't know how to say this, like, like you can just tell that there's a different way that they treated me compared to everyone else. But I feel like it's not so blatant sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's actually yeah, discrimination's kind of a harsh word, but sometimes that does actually refer to it, but it's not so direct. And I think sometimes when it's not direct, sometimes that actually gets into your head a little bit.
I wanted to add to,
Mm.
I feel like what David was saying really struck home to me. Like,
Mhm.
we just want to be taken seriously, like,
Yeah.
and we want to be seen. I think it's funny, like, we have these big bulky wheelchairs, but sometimes I feel like I'm invisible to other people, and it's either they don't want to deal with
Yeah.
interacting with someone in a wheelchair, or they just ignore you because they don't know what to do with you. So
Yeah.
that's something
Mhm.
that could be frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like that was mainly my high school experience. I definitely say that I didn't get that so much in college. I feel like I mean, I feel like in college it's just a more mature atmosphere.
Yeah.
I feel like there are more mature
Mhm.
people, yeah, but yeah, I feel like mainly in high school that that I feel like, that I mean, I didn't want to be friends, but it felt like, but for a while, it felt like, something I would like to do with people, or to try to be friends with them, and like, and some of them might have been, they, are very friendly to me,
Yeah.
but then, but then I feel like people like that wouldn't let me in, almost like let me,
Mhm.
like to be a part of, to be actually friends,
Yeah, to be included in the
Maybe,
social circle.
because I never, yeah, I feel like I just never found my social circle, where it's like,
Mhm.
or it's that mostly in high school, I didn't really,
That's
yeah, but
hard.
I felt like I just didn't have a group of friends, and then I felt like people just, and they would just treat me differently, and they would never, and I was never let into that, even though the people were so nice to me,
Yeah. I know what you
but
mean.
I feel like I needed more than just people that are nice to me. I needed friends, you know.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like you're outside that social circle, and even if you interact with them on sort of like in a natural way, like sort of in classes and stuff like that, they are like your friends, but then outside of that, sometimes it's hard to sort of get integrated into that.
Yeah, well, I felt like I had a lot of acquaintances, you know,
Mhm.
people that I would say hi to. I knew the name. We kind of knew something about each other, but then that was it, you know.
Yeah, people are people are afraid of what they don't know, and
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like right there, society is like, okay, you got to be nice to disabled
Mhm,
people, but
mhm.
like beyond that, like you don't need to interact with them, like you don't need to converse with them like you would people that are in a wheelchair. And so I think that's something that we need to be talking to kids, whether they're disabled or not, about early on, so that they understand that there's nothing to be afraid of. And um we may look different, but we're this I mean, we're basically the same person, but minus a few different things. Like we have the same DNA, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's just educating people about that.
And also the perceptions of immaturity kind of things. I
Hmm.
guess it's related to age thing as well.
Hmm.
But that's often been an assumption that's made about me in many cases, and it's hard because they feel like, oh, we can't talk to you about X because you're not mature enough to know what that's what's going on there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, that's treat us like anyone else basically. And yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess like actually we let's see what else we want to talk. Oh yeah, one thing I also wanted to ask you all about is sort of thinking about comparing with peers who don't have Duchenne. What have been your challenges in terms of like you feeling like others are able to do X and you're not able to, or they're doing so well in something and you also want to do well in that. How do you sort of like balance that kind of those kinds of feelings? You want to
I
go ahead,
guess,
Hog?
yeah, sure. So yeah, comparison um is a dangerous road to go
Yes.
down
Mhm.
for anyone, regardless of disability, because everyone, I will say, social media, for all of its positives, this is a huge negative for me, because you're comparing yourself to what someone's posting the best of themselves.
Yeah.
No one's sharing like those times where they're crying or something's going wrong. They're always showing the positive, like all the good stuff that's happening. And so I always try to take what people are posting with a grain of salt, and be realistic. And I also just honestly try to stay off of social media as much as I can. More recently, I've just kind of not done it as much, because ultimately, um, being jealous about other people, that's not where I want to.
Mhm.
That's not what I want to be doing. That's not. I want to be focusing on myself, not on other people, because the more you focus on what other people are doing, the less time you take away from yourself and improving
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
And I always like to say, don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to yourself. Like, where
Yeah.
can I be improving? How can I be more disciplined with physical therapy or my exercises, or where can I be eating
Mhm.
healthier? Where So instead of putting your energy into wishing that you were different or had something
Yeah.
that someone else had, put your energy into making yourself better.
Yeah. Focus on the things you can do, right?
Exactly. That's my motto. Focus on the things that you can do, not what you can't do.
All right, David, do you want to add anything to the competition side of things
Um,
or comparison? Maybe not
yeah,
competition necessarily.
yeah, yeah. I think I do try. I do try as much as possible to just focus on myself and what I'm doing. I think Hawkins definitely spoke well about that. Well, but I have, but yeah, I've had trouble. And maybe I don't get jealous, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I do get I'm a bit sad sometimes
Yeah,
when
totally
sometimes
understandable.
yeah when sometimes I feel like and I just and I feel like I wish I wish I had a a normal social life,
Yeah.
that I wish um I wish I wish I had friends growing up. I never really did, and 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 yeah, sometimes I wish that I just made, I was that I was able to make friends socially
Mm.
and yeah, I kind of do it sometimes that that I had a normal life,
Yeah.
that I didn't feel like like so much of an outsider. Yeah, the way that has felt bad that sometimes I feel like an outsider. I don't have I don't have a place. I kind of felt that
Yeah.
sometimes. And yeah, that made me sad sometimes. But
Mm.
no, but yeah, it's very important to make sure that that I just live day to day, and that I just focus on this moment right now,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and what I have, and what I can do with what I have, then and I definitely just I try to take it one moment at a time,
Yeah.
and I feel like that helps me to get through get through anything. Just see it as just then getting through this moment,
Yeah. I for sure, yeah, that's definitely a struggle I have as well, in terms of like maybe not what they're achieving, but sort of the social comparison, like they're part of a group and like I'm not, or they're able to do all these things with their friends. Sometimes it is a hard thing to sort of look at that and not feel like little FOMO, right? In terms of different things. And I found like even on the other side in terms of like being competitive-ish kind of things, sometimes I find myself doing a lot of more things than I can handle just because I want to be like my peers basically, but sometimes that makes me fatigued and hard to sort of actually do what I need to do, and I overstretch myself, and that's sometimes a problem as well.
Yes, Felix, you like amen to that because right, you I don't feel like I'm doing enough sometimes, like because I have my friends that are working hard, they're making all this money and they're doing all this,
Yeah.
and I'm like I like, and I'm trying to do what they're doing, and it's just not fair to myself to be able to be holding myself to standards that aren't healthy for me. And so that's something I definitely have to struggle with, and I feel guilty for not working as much and such.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, I talked about giving other people grace. We have to give ourselves a little bit of grace
Yes,
too. Like,
yes,
we
exactly.
are dealing with a situation. Like, I, I've kind of reframed how I look at resting because sometimes if I'm not being productive, I feel like I'm kind of being a failure in a way. But
Mhm.
I've looked at it like, okay, so getting rest or taking a nap, that is productive. I am putting my
Yeah, you'll
health
be more
first. That
energized.
yeah, that is a good, yeah, I'll be more energized. And then even doing nothing is productive because because your body is doing stuff that you're not aware of, like to
Oh yeah,
regenerate
for sure.
and everything, especially even what we do, like typing or whatever it might be that we can do, that even those motions tire us out because it's like we're putting in more effort because we're weaker, but we have to
Mhm,
just kind
mhm.
of realize that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes with yeah, writing a lot that we all have experience with, you just sit there and look at a blank page for
Yeah.
who knows how long. But yeah. Yeah, definitely think about yeah, whatever other people are doing, not necessarily you need to do, and we kind of need to be unconventional about things. Just because everyone else is doing X doesn't mean we don't have our own path to get to the same goal, just a different route. So keep that in mind as well. Like not everyone's route is going to look exactly the same, and even what we did, our paths may not be the same. So also like look at what works for you. Maybe things that work for us doesn't work for you, and that's totally fine. Everyone has their own circumstances that um, affect how they live their life. So yeah, to each their own, basically.
Yeah, and we're being more efficient with our time. You can look at it like that. Like we're working smarter, not necessarily harder, because
Exactly.
we're thinking our way through it rather than just brute forcing effort.
Yeah, I often try to like find as many connections as possible between work, so then I could do one thing and effectively address multiple things by
Right.
doing that. Just finding those connections is um, helpful. David, did you want to add anything else? We're actually, I think we're hitting the hour, but yeah, any other comments you have?
Um, no, I don't have anything.
All right, Hawken, anything else?
Yeah, to those other young adults with Duchenne who are watching, I think just my parting advice is we talked a lot about this, but don't compare yourself to others. I think we need to realize that our health, like anyone else, our health is our number one priority. And we're
Yes.
trying to be here healthy as long as we can. And to do that, we have to make our health a priority. And it's frustrating sometimes. Like you want to be able to eat what everyone else is eating, you want to be able to do what everyone else is doing, but sometimes you have to step back and tell yourself, I really need to be focusing on my health right now, and I just have to say no to this. And
Yeah.
and then I move on with my life and what I'm doing. And so there's a comparison. Um, really try, I think now, to find something that you're good at, whether it's computer programming, something that you can do, and really lean into that and really find a purpose in that as well. And
Yeah.
I think finding a purpose and finding your calling is super important. I think it helps a lot with mental health. It helps us, you know, focus on that rather than our condition. And then from a social aspect, I would say you really do have to put yourself out there because people, like I said, are afraid of what they don't know. And if you go first and introduce yourself and start talking to them, they'll start to become more comfortable living with someone with a disability, and then you can become friends through that.
Yeah, it's fantastic advice, Hawken. Like, yeah, I definitely agree. That's a lot of things we need to consider, but of course, things are not easy, but that's sort of the way things are, unfortunately, but things that we need to address. Um, yeah, I think one parting advice for me is, yeah, just what I said earlier, like you have your unique path. Don't get convinced by people who don't have experience with DMD to try to tell you what to do. Yeah, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is that advice. But I just want you to, yeah, just make sure to follow your own goals and don't let people derail you from that, basically. David, do you want any parting advice? Give any parting advice?
Yeah, I would say that let me see here. Yeah, I just wanted I just wanted to add to what Hawkland had said about putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
I want to say that I really made I made quite a few good friends by by just like talking to a person I see around campus, and I mean honestly how the other person would initiate that. But yeah, I made some good friends. Just different people that I would see around campus. Like yeah, and like maybe even people that I didn't even have a class with. I just like
Yeah.
see that person sitting at the table, and I go to that person. I'm like, hey, and and yeah, maybe good friends that way. And I feel like I've also missed a lot of opportunities from me being shy in the past.
Yeah.
I'm never from like up to anyone. Yeah, and then so yeah, I would agree. Put yourself out there. And yeah, just and like don't be afraid to to try new things. And just try to like. I mean, of course, they take your health into account. But I mean, your health permitting, I definitely say like go for sign up for things. That's how you meet. That's how you meet people, and I think you'll definitely find that that's the only way that you can that you can find friends sometimes. And I think um and yeah, I think and I feel like just being out there, that I think it definitely helps you to stay mentally healthy. Yeah, I think just closing up yourself in your house is just is not good for our mental health. So I definitely encourage stepping out as much as you can.
And one other thing I would just add, parting advice is also make sure to don't be like nice just to be nice, but always be grateful for whatever help they get. So yeah, that's whatever help they give you. Sorry, I said that wrong. But yeah, this has been the Duchenne Life. So thank you all for listening. Linda, do you want to add anything before we sign off?
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and thank
I
you,
just want to say how
Felix.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, I'm watching the wrong thing. Thank you guys so much. This was fantastic and wonderful, and I'm so grateful for y'all coming to share your experiences. They're just God, such important stuff to talk about, and I'm just grateful. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for organizing.